60 Minutes, Rewind.
It's probably the most audacious idea human beings ever had, to build a city in the sea, and to make it the most beautiful city in the world. Venice could well be mankind's most sublime achievement, and it's threatened today as it never has been before. To put it simply, Venice is sinking at an alarming rate, and this winter has been the worst ever. The tides are so high that the city's old defenses are being overwhelmed. Venice could be gone by the end of the century. But engineers say a solution is at hand. It's called Project Moses because it's about parting the waters. Giant mobile gates would separate the Venetian lagoon from the Adriatic Sea. The problem is that Venice, which was an independent republic for most of its life, is now part of Italy. And getting Italians to agree on anything is at least as problematic as building a city in the sea.
Good morning, Venice often comes in the form of a siren these days, a warning that another high tide is on the way. And not just an ordinary high tide, one which is peculiar to Venice, a conspiracy of the Adriatic, the moon, and the wind, which for a few hours turns the city of Serenity, as Venice is known, into a blocked sink. Stores are flooded, and hotels are transformed into ocean liners, sinking ocean liners. The waters know no bounds, no borders, and nothing is sacred. The Piazza San Marco. Napoleon called it Europe's finest drawing room, and look at it today. It could be a drawing room for ducks. The state of affairs is not unusual, and it's not new. 100 years ago, the piazza got flooded 7 times a year. Inconvenient, but nothing to get alarmed about if you're a Venetian. But recently, the waters have been coming 100 times a year. And the forecasters are saying it will only get wetter and worse.
We are fed up of this kind of situation.
Paolo Tosca and his fellow shopkeepers have had it up to here. Literally up to here.
You know the kind of boots you have to supply now? Before they were so high. In a few years after, well, like that. And now you have to give boots up to here because
pretty soon you'll need a snorkel.
Scuba diving.
For now, planks will have to do. But Andrea Rinaldo, an Italian professor of hydraulics who's taught at MIT, thinks Venetians may soon have to grow gills.
Do you think Venice is in immediate danger?
If the ice cap melts, we won't have 100 years left. We have less than that. So we are in immediate danger.
And if Venice is in danger, so are we, because without it, the world will be a much darker place. There will be less beauty, less magic, less romance. To visit Venice is to become a romantic. It is to believe in the impossible. Lose all this? No. No need to, because the Savior Moses is at hand. In fact, he's been at hand, ready to intervene for 10 years. Project Moses would employ mobile gates at the 3 openings to the lagoon which surrounds Venice. This animation shows how it would work. 79 gates would pop up from the ocean floor when high tides are forecast and stop the Adriatic from swamping the city. Moses once seemed inevitable, but in Italy, nothing is inevitable and everything is politics.
We don't need these damn dams.
Grazia Francescato heads the Italian Green Party, which has succeeded in paralyzing Moses because, in their view, anything that smacks of corporations and profit is suspect, and Moses is a $2 billion project. They also say pollution from a petrochemical complex built just 2 miles from Venice during Mussolini's time should be cleaned up first.
If these dams are shut for many days a year, they will actually worsen the situation. They will trap Venice. Think of all the pollution inside. Think of the smell that will come out of the basin. So the dams are not the answer.
One answer, the Greens say, is to raise Venice a few inches at a time, brick by brick, the way Venetians did for centuries. Work has started along the city's lacework of canals.
We believe that what Venice needs is not one big miracle, it's 1,000 small miracles. You see what I mean?
Why not have 1,000 small miracles and one big miracle.
I was coming to your point. If you're sick, let's say you're sick, I hope it never happens, but if you're sick, first thing you do, you seek medical care. Then you seek surgery.
Yeah, but if you postpone the surgery too long, maybe you'll die anyway.
Yes, I agree. But they've not applied the medical care yet. We say first apply medical care.
Raising the pavement of the passageways of a city would amount to treating the symptom, not the disease. And what do you do for exceptional tides? Nothing. Nothing. Is that a sound system? I doubt it.
Professor Ronaldo was part of a panel of experts brought in to evaluate Moses, and he thinks that without it, Venice is sunk.
It is very clear from a scientific viewpoint that if the problem of a city is protection against exceptionally high tide, you have no option. You have to separate temporarily the sea from the lagoon.
But the Greens have found an ally in an American archaeologist from Colgate University, Dr. Albert Ammerman. By studying the soft underbelly of Venice, he and his colleagues recently discovered the city is sinking faster than anyone thought.
And what you're saying is if you want to be sure to see the Basilica of San Marco come soon,
this would be a good idea.
Dr. Ammerman argues that since the tides are predicted to rise at least a foot in the next century, the Moses gates would have to be shut nearly every day for months at a time, not allowing the Adriatic to cleanse the lagoon of its pollution. So he wants Moses to stay out of the water.
And what our position is that in light of what we know today, that is with this historical trend and global warming, that they really need to redo the environmental impact studies.
well, that's a good idea. Venice is sinking, so let's have some more studies.
Well, now the thing is, it's probably better not to rush into anything for the next 5 to 10 years. Because
let's wait a while, then we'll have constant 12 inches of water in San Marco every day.
You won't. It's going to take longer before you get to that
According
stage.
to your projections, not much.
And Moses' disciples say if Venice gets flooded, what difference will it make if it's flooded by clean or dirty water? They point to November 4th, 1966, the day Venice nearly drowned.
So this is my house.
Ah, it's a big house, isn't it?
Professor Ronaldo was here in 1966, a scared 12-year-old who watched the armchairs floating in his living room.
Now, in 1966, after the flood, do you think your parents expected something to be done soon?
Everybody did. The outcry worldwide, you could feel it in town. You had restoration projects, Save Venice was born. Everybody was moving on.
What went wrong?
It's something built in the structural inability that the country has to reach decisions soon.
If Nero fiddled while Rome burned, the Italians have been fiddling while Venice drowns. It took nearly 20 years for Project Moses to be drawn up, and Italy has been arguing about it for the past 10. And Venetians like Paolo Tosca, the shopkeeper, fear it will take another disastrous flood to shake Italy's politicians.
But there was already a big catastrophe 34 years ago, and
But
they
it was
did
not big
nothing.
enough.
It doesn't big enough.
It's not big enough.
The story will continue after this.
Nothing is so terrible happening tomorrow if we don't decide today.
Paolo Costa, as you might have guessed, is a politician. He's Venice's mayor, and he's in favor of Project Moses. But Rome controls Moses' fate, and the Green Party, at least for now, holds veto power over Rome.
I got to tell you, Mr. Mayor, after being in Venice the last several days, I think the time to start is this morning.
You have to convey this information to the president of my government.
Because it is not a scientific problem anymore, it's a political problem. Huh?
Well, it is a political problem. We cannot because it is.
But between us, I mean, it's not happening, is it?
I'm not. Well, I'm answering. I really don't know.
If I pressed you, yes or no, do you think Project Moses is going to happen?
No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to march forward. Not an inch.
While the politicians argue whether to move forward, the waters become more ominous at the entrance to the lagoon. Venice has always been wedded to the sea, but now it's turning into a really bad marriage. The gondoliers have trouble navigating under the city's bridges, and in Venice, no one lives on the ground floor anymore. In fact, not that many people live in Venice. The city's population is less than half what it was 50 years ago, and the average age is rising with the tides. The death of Venice is happening before our eyes. Only the tourists are keeping the place afloat, but naturally, everyone says they have Venice's best interest at heart.
I don't want Venice to end up being stifled into a stagnant pond. You see what I mean? It is the future at Venice is at stake. I'm not enthusiastic, I'm passionate, which is something quite different, I tell you.
More Italian.
More Italian, of course.
What is at stake is the most improbable of cities, the city Dickens once said you would shed tears to see.
Venice is an unbelievable treasure. I'm sorry that my English is not good enough to say how much we love this city. Each stone of the city, it's a little piece of art. So, I mean, everybody should look really after it. I mean, it's a weak city because, I mean, it's not protected by anything. But it looks like people doesn't care anymore about it.
When I went to Venice, my dream became my address, wrote Marcel Proust. He, like every worshipper of Venice, realized that only the Italians could have built this city, and perhaps equally, only the Italians can sit by and watch it disappear.